Right, hello everyone. Welcome to the Laura Canfield Show, the Awaken to Happiness Now Global Series. Thank you so much for being here, everyone. We have a brand new guest on the show today. So Erica VanEaton is here with us, and we are going to be talking about healing and ascending the mind, ego, body, and spirit. And so part of what we're going to talk about today is we're going to learn about understanding what the spectrum is, where we all fall on it, and how we can begin to learn from those labeled as autistic who reside at the higher end of the spectrum. And we're going to talk about what Erica learned about the ego through her son with autism and how we are needing to work with the ego, changing out the old operating system of fear. We're also going to talk a little bit about how and why we are being asked to open up a dialogue with our bodies now, especially now. And this again was shown to Erica, something that her son showed her that she was needing to be done for him alongside upgrading the chakra system. And then we're going to talk about how by speaking directly to the ego, mind, body, and spirit, they can begin to learn to work together in harmony for the ascension of the whole human into higher levels of consciousness, where more peace, joy, and harmony reside, which we are all looking for. We're all wanting to experience that. Right, so we're going to talk about all of that and more. We're going to be doing a group process as well. We're going to be taking live caller questions. So it's going to be a fun, high vibe show for sure. For those of you who don't know Erica, she is an intuitive energy healer, and she uses multidimensional techniques to heal the whole person from a mind, body, soul perspective. And by integrating sound, light codes, and playing with the quantum field of realities, she's able to pull together those aspects of her clients that have not been realized or fully integrated. And this approach allows healing to occur on all levels of being, down to the level of the DNA and beyond. And this integrative approach also allows for those on the autism spectrum to heal and be seen, sometimes for the first time. And Erica teaches her clients how to communicate on a soul level and bring through their own codes of light to facilitate healings. And it is Erica's greatest desire for all souls to freely express and communicate their unique soul signature through the external expression of the human. And so I was lucky enough to have a session with Erica on Monday. We were supposed to just chat, but we ended up, doing a session, or she gifted me a session. It was amazing and exactly what I needed at that time. So I'm so grateful for that. But it was wonderful. It was so good, and it was like, oh my God. I've still been thinking about it ever since. So again, thank you so much, Erica, and welcome to the show.
Hi, Laura. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to be here and share this time space continuum with you all. And before we even get started, there's a lot of beings of light here to run some energy for us. So if we could all just get grounded. So I'm going to invite you all to close your eyes and pull in the breath through the heart and allow it to flow down your body, down your legs, down the soles of your feet, into the ground, connecting into that crystalline grid, that beautiful crystalline grid of the new earth. And just allow that your lines of energy connect with this grid and follow the lines around the earth. And then she's going to gift energy back up to you. It's very sparkly and rainbow, and it might be an individual color for you today. And allow that to come up your feet, up your legs, filling in your hips, your abdomen, all the way up to your heart space. So like Alora mentioned, I do light language and sound healing as a big aspect of my healing modalities, my gifts. And so when I'm talking today, the reason why they want to start with grounding is they run a lot of frequencies through my voice. And so if you're just open to receiving, then you'll be a lot more receptive to allowing these frequencies to come in. And how I got started into all of this, as Alora mentioned, is when my oldest son was born, he was born with Down syndrome. And we had an incredibly clear connection. When I said his name for the first time, he turned his head and looked me directly in the eyes. And any of you that have had a child or been around a newborn, you know that they just don't do that. So he looked at me, and that in that moment, I just knew that I knew this child, and I knew that he knew me too. And because we had such a clear connection, I could see and know his brilliance in a way that other people couldn't. And because it was just him and I at home so often, and that's the vibration that I held for him, I was able to teach and accelerate his learning. So by the time he was 3, he could sight read close to 100 words. He knew all of the colors of the rainbow by the time he was 18 months. And he knew he had all these beautiful gifts. But because I wasn't spiritually aware, I didn't understand energy. I didn't understand frequency. I didn't understand the law of attraction, harmonic resonance. I didn't understand that when he was getting ready to start school, I had a fear that his teacher would just see him as a diagnosis, that she wouldn't be able to see and know his brilliance in the way that I saw and knew it. And obviously, due to harmonic resonance, due to the law of attraction, that's exactly the kind of teacher that we pulled into our lives. And so he became that. We lost everything. Autism became really prevalent, and he became what she saw, and we lost our connection. And as you know, when he was from birth up until that age, I knew that he wasn't filtering things through his ego. Although I wasn't spiritually awake, I didn't even know what the ego was. I just had this knowingness within me that he wasn't filtering anything through the ego. He just saw souls in a body. And that's why when he started school, and that's why it's becoming very important now to begin to work with the ego. When he started school, he was easily getting absorbed by other people's frequencies that they held of who he was. He was becoming absorbed by the teacher's image of who he was because he didn't have that ego in place to help filter off the information coming into his energy field. So he would get overwhelmed. Behaviors started escalating that he had never had before. Communication shut down. All the education, all the reading, everything dissipated, and we lost it. And it's because he became this version of what she saw, because he didn't have any filters in place to protect him or to work with him or to remind him of who he was. And so it was throughout that journey. And then, of course, when we lost this connection, I felt all sorts of shame, and I felt like a failure. I had another child during this time. I had a miscarriage, and then I had another child. And this whole time I lost my son. And that was what was playing in the background nonstop, that I was a failure. I lost my son. I did something wrong. I'm broken. I'm not fit to be a mom. So I started mindfulness practices. And with these practices, it helped me gain some control over my thoughts. You know, we all are very aware that when you start doing meditation, you're working through your thought systems. But what I noticed was, as I became in control of my internal emotional state and started working through that, my entire environment changed. The kids' behaviors decreased, more harmony and peace came into our lives, and everybody started operating at a higher plane of existence. And so what I was shown in meditation during this time was that we all are on the spectrum of light. It's just that my son and others like him, they come in at the top of the spectrum, so they have access to the entire spectrum of light, whereas the rest of us, we only come down on maybe 1 or 2 rays of light, depending on our soul mastery, depending on what we want to accomplish here, and where we are along in our incarnation. Now, as we go through the healing process and we start releasing densities, as we start being able to bring in and hold higher frequencies of light, then we have access to more of that spectrum of light. But if you can imagine what it's like for these individuals that come down with this entire spectrum available to them, but their body can't hold those frequencies, so they can't come into their bodies. The chakra system has been outdated. It wasn't spinning fast enough for them to fully come down into the body. And so they would splinter off and be stuck out around their energy field. And it seems like they're disconnected. It seems like they don't understand. It seems like they don't have emotions, when actually the opposite is very true. They feel everything, they see everything because they have access to everything, to all this information. And they came down here specifically knowing that it was going to be hard, knowing, the struggles that they were going to have, but they came down here anyway, one, for their own experience, but two, so they could hold those frequencies for humanity. So they could hold those frequencies for us to step up into. And so if you want to think about our journey here as being like we're stepping up a ladder, we step on the first step of the ladder, and there's a level of consciousness in between the ground and that first rung of the ladder. And within that level of consciousness, there's a lot of hate. There's a lot of shame. There's a lot of worthlessness, and the color's really dim. And you can play in that level of consciousness for a while, and then you realize this feels like shit. I'm going to do some mindfulness work here, and I want to take a step up. And so you step up onto another rung of that ladder, and you look out into that field of consciousness, and you play in that field of consciousness, and that has a ray of light to it. And those have frequencies within it that resonate in that level of consciousness. And so you play in there, and maybe this has a lot of anger. Maybe it has a lot of me versus them. I'm different from you, therefore I'm scared of you. It still has fear. But then you start doing the work again. You start coming back into your body. You start remembering the truth of who you are, that you're a spiritual being here playing out in a human body, and you take another step up. And so what we've been doing is slowly climbing the ladder to be able to reach where they're at. So we can hold this whole spectrum of light. But we have these things that keep dragging us down the ladder. And if you're standing at the top of a ladder and you fall to the ground, it hurts a whole hell of a lot more than if you're just on that first rung of the ladder and you fall down to the ground. It's such a huge energy shift. So these beings of light that we have labeled as autistic, when you're seeing them have a meltdown of epic proportions, when you're seeing them want to run away, when you're seeing them stemming uncontrollably, they have fallen off that ladder because of the circumstances around them. And so it's time for us then to turn around and look at ourselves. What am I projecting that this incredibly sensitive person is feeling? Or what's going on in the environment that this group of individuals, what is happening in the environment that's causing them to struggle? Why can't they come embodied? Why can't they come into their body? So we're trying to climb up the ladder that we have access to this whole spectrum of light. And there are times when it seems like we can bring down these high frequencies and bring them into the body, but we can't hold it. Or we climb up and then we fall back down on a regular basis. And so there's other things at play here. It's not just other people or our environment or the group consciousness around us that causes us to fall down off that ladder or that pulls us down. But it's our bodies, it's our minds, and it's our egos. Our body has its own consciousness. The human body starts to develop in the womb way before the spirit ever enters it. Bruce Lipton does a beautiful job talking about it as being trillions of tiny little humans working together to make it work. They share information, they help each other excel, grow, repair. The body has its own consciousness, it has a voice, but it's never really been heard. The mind starts to develop in that infant, in the womb, and it's starting to already process the frequencies coming into the body. So the heart is one of the first organs to develop. I used to study the heart. I was a cardiac sonographer in a hospital for a long time. I studied the heart. I know a lot about that. So after 40 days, the heart has been developed and is beating within the fetus in the mother. Now, the mother, the environment, the fathers, or whatever caregivers are around, their frequencies that they're running are continually coming into that fetus. And no one has given a rule book to the body on how to process this information. So it goes from the heart sends a signal to the brain of this developing fetus, and it starts sending synapses. It starts creating neural pathways that are a vibrational match to this information coming in. Those neural pathways start forming, and they start forming subconscious beliefs that the ego then, which is developing at the same time, takes on to be true. And the ego doesn't know that the mind actually can talk to it. The ego doesn't know that the body has a voice and can talk to it, because no one's there guiding all these different aspects of us that make us human. So there's been no communication. And that's what was so obvious in my son. And so when we begin to recognize that these different aspects of us were gifts to us so that we could have this human experience here, and not something to shut down or try to shove in a closet, but we invite them into the table to have a voice with us, for us, then we can begin to change how they operate. And instead of the ego operating from a place of fear, which again, it just learned because of all the information that was coming into it before the spirit even entered the body, these neural pathways that were forming, that it took on to be true. Well, everyone around it was operating from a fear-based state, unless you were blessed to have a very woke parent, which I don't know many of us that do, right? So
Nope.
it automatically goes to this fear-based place and starts filtering information in through the vibration of fear. So now you're continually running this vibration of fear, and the body's having to process all these vibrations because they're continually playing out. So the body consciousness is like, I don't know what to do with this. So it starts locking it in the fascia, it starts locking it in the tissues, it starts shutting off codes in the DNA, right? Because fear, the frequency of fear or anger or hate or me versus them, there's actual molecules of energy in that frequency that aren't working in congruence, they aren't working in harmony. So the vibration of it is very disharmonic and causes incoherence in our cellular structure. When that happens, the DNA shrinks up. When you look under a microscope, what causes the aging process, what causes disease states, are that these DNA strands, they shrink up, they shrivel. And these beautiful gifts that we have get shut down.
And that starts from like before you're even born, right? In the womb.
Absolutely. That's exactly when it happens.
Mhm.
And so we've been programmed before the spirit even entered the body. And we've been harmed in a way because we didn't know.
Yeah.
Nobody knew. Nobody was talking about this. And so the spirit, this beautiful spirit, starts to descend down into the body. But it forgets too. It forgets that it was derived from the divine, that it could never be separate from the ultimate mother and the ultimate father. And so it doesn't know that it can talk to the body consciousness. It doesn't know that it can talk to the mind and talk to the ego because it's forgotten. And so then we go through this awakening process of, oh, this is really who I am. I'm a spirit. That's why I felt like I've never belonged here. And then we learn about the ego, but the ego has had this horrible rap. And we do need to be, the first step, I can see why it's had this horrible rap and why the teachings have all been to identify what's the ego and identify what's the spirit and see that as separate. That was the first step of our evolution, is just coming into that awareness. But the next step that these children are showing us, is that we can take that ego's consciousness and we can upgrade it to a different vibratory level, so that when we give it the rule book that it never was given on how to operate for our whole human's highest and greatest good, and we introduce it to the spirit, it can look at the spirit, it can look at your unique soul signature, the frequencies that were given to you by the divine. And it can start to filter information in through those frequencies. Is this something that's going to bring me harmony, or is this going to cause disruption to this unique soul signature that is me? But it takes and we have a little bit of undoing to do before we totally get there. And all along the way, when I do light language, when you're just looking at different colors of the rainbow, music therapy, whatever, those are healing the cellular structure of your DNA, beginning to unravel, lengthen back out the DNA so you can turn on your divine gifts and have access to this whole spectrum of light and be able to hold it. But your body consciousness has to be able to trust you first. Right now, it doesn't trust many of us because we haven't talked to it. We haven't asked it what it needs. We haven't set it down at this round table and say, what do you need from me? I'm so sorry that I disregarded you. I'm sorry that I've judged you. I'm sorry that I've judged the pain that I feel in my body or the disease states that I have, and asked you why you were failing me when I never acknowledged your presence to begin with. I'm sorry. And so when you begin to develop this trusting relationship between the mind and the body and the soul and the ego, then they all start working in harmony, asking, how can I help? What can I do differently to help us ascend together? And then that beautiful ladder that we're trying to climb up, we stop falling down it so often. Because our body's consciousness isn't pulling us down to the bottom. Our ego's not pulling us down to the bottom. Our mind, our beautiful mind's not pulling us down to the bottom. They're all working congruently to lift us up to a higher state of being. And we are coming into the age of unity consciousness. But that unity has to start within us first. The harmony starts within.
Absolutely.
So, sorry,
You
I
know,
just kind of...
I just want to share really quickly this little bit about, communicating with the body, right? So earlier, just like maybe 2 hours ago or something, I was, resting, and I was, saying, why is my lower back hurting so much? It's like, well, what's going on here? And then it's like, oh, it's at the root chakra. It's like, oh, of course, my whole foundation has crumbled and everything is upside down. Of course, my lower back is like screaming in pain to say, not screaming to say, hey, what's going on, right? Feeling unstable and so on. And as soon as I got that awareness, as soon as I asked the question, it relaxed. It's, so it's not as bad, it's not as intense, and just having that understanding, that the body, what it's going through, with the mind, what it's going through, the ego, what it's going through, all three combined together, it's a whole mess, right? And acknowledging that, right? Then it just kind of relaxed into it. It's like, okay, that's what's happening. Okay, cool, right?
Yeah.
So it's a small little piece for sure, but it is important to, not judge, because I wasn't judging my body to say, well, what's wrong with you? Why are you giving? But it's like, what is going on? This is like constant aching, pain. What is it? And then when I'm finally was able to actually hear that answer, to acknowledge that, it's like, yeah, my life is fucked up at the moment, completely fucked up, so then it's like, okay, all right. So before that, my ego was not talking, my mind was not talking to the body, to emotions or anything. It was just like fighting, right? With itself.
That's exactly right. And I loved how you brought up that awareness about your lower chakra, because our chakra system, our entire system, is needing to fully upgrade. And that's what I'll be doing in the classes. so that we can calm down and really be present in the physical body and hold those rays of light in. So when my son tried to descend down into his body, he got to about the sacral and he couldn't get any further because he was spinning too fast. He was spinning too fast. He hit those lower chakras and it's just like pieces of him bounced out and fragmented. Now people on the autism spectrum aren't the only ones. We have cerebral palsy with the same thing, Down syndrome. Most of these conditions are because people aren't fully embodied. It happens to people that are just walking around every day like you. You start to ascend and you're not a vibrational match to the chakra system. And our chakra system is now able to extend way out into these vast fields of consciousness and higher dimensional planes, giving us access, wanting to give us access to these higher states of being and to these higher rays of light. And a lot of people are experiencing like second Kundalini experiences that are even more powerful than the first one. And it's because we have so much more access. But again, part of the reason why we have access is because we've had these beautiful spectrum beings of light that are way up high on the spectrum, holding the space for us to do that. And so part of what I'm here to do is to completely change how they're viewed in the world and be a voice for them. And they've completely changed my healing practice. I mean, everything that I do now is because I've learned it from them. These are very high level souls that we're talking about here. So we have so much more to continue to learn from them.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, like sometimes we don't know, like if we don't know a lot about autism, Asperger's, Down syndrome, we're going to just project what we've heard in the media. We're going to project what we've heard in TV shows, etc., because we don't know, right? And nobody talks about this stuff. Right?
It hasn't been spoken about in the spiritual community very often, if really at all. And so
the thing is, we all have we also have the capacity to access all those rays of light as well, the whole spectrum. We have the capacity, but we don't have we have the tools as well, right? But we may not really know how to do it. It's not, it's not okay. We can't just go up to a mountain in India and meditate for 40 years. That's not, practical anymore, right?
Exactly. Yeah. And so that's what?
I said people used to do that in the past and that worked, but
right.
It's not practical now. Now more and more are awakening, and it is about being in the world, but also, focusing on those practices, those spiritual practices that help you to have more light, bring more light, and retain that light, because we lose it so often, right?
Yeah, exactly. We do. And, we have all these beautiful people waking up now, but they still don't know the truth of who they are. And so they're getting lost in other fields of false consciousness, thinking that they're seeking light. But until you come into knowing your truth, which your truth is different than my truth, which is different than anyone else's truth on here. So we kind of need to restructure what truth even means and take the densities off of truth, because we're trying to label everything as one truth, as the ultimate truth. Well, it's impossible because we're all at different levels of consciousness. So it's completely different for each individual experience, including like even when I see a truth for my kids, they each have what's true for them, which is not true for their brothers. So let's give people the space to find their own truth that's in resonance, that's in harmonic resonance with them, that amplifies their light. My oldest son, he's been doing puzzles forever. And he showed me the other night And I'm not talking about a conscious conversation like I'm talking to you guys right now. If I was going to have this conversation, he would shut me down. He's getting close to teen years. He's not going to want to talk like spirituality, right? So, but he's been doing puzzles for years. And by the time he was 10, he could do 1,000-piece puzzles. He could dump out 1,000-piece puzzles on the thing, do a quick scan. If any of the pieces didn't match, he could pluck them out, and he knew that those didn't go with the puzzle. Like he can just see the whole picture. And Jesus came in, and he was showing me, we're each part of the divine, and we each hold a piece of that puzzle. We're all are part of the puzzle. We each hold codes that the whole needs, that are just unique to you. But when we continually look externally at our environment for answers, look to other healers, look to other people, look to people on YouTube, look to news networks or whatever for answers, trying to figure out more of who we are, well, that's their truth and that's their frequencies. We have to come into our own unique harmony that resides within all of us. So that whole puzzle can come together.
But being sometimes we need that support though from other people, or just to ask a question, because I know when I was going through my journey at the beginning, I couldn't talk to anybody. Nobody understood what I was talking about, and it's like, even now, sometimes they still don't know what I'm talking about, but it was like, you had to, like, I needed to talk to somebody. Apart from the Indian system, I needed to speak to somebody else because I wasn't following the Indian system. So I was experiencing something else that I couldn't even speak to my dad with, and he's a spiritual guy, but he couldn't get it, so it's like, I need a community,
Right.
to share with, to learn from, and etc. Right. So
And
that
I
you don't feel
understand.
alone.
Yes. Like I completely agree with that. Like I still work with healers. The people that I work with, they still work with other healers. So it's not so much that we can't reach out for help, but what my first like masterclass that I'm doing is, oftentimes when we are searching for help from a place of it comes from fear of being alone,
Yeah.
of not being understood, we allow our energetic matrix to enmesh with other people's matrices. So not only do we form energetic cords to other people, places, and things, but we actually form these enmeshments. And I see them like sheets. And again, it was my kids that brought this to my awareness, because they were asking me to release them, basically. And my younger two, like I was sad, but I could do it. But I could see these enmeshments. And then I had to have help from a beautiful friend. She's actually on here right now, Kim Pence Light, helped me release these enmeshments from my oldest son, because he had Down syndrome and autism. I allowed my energetic matrix to enmesh, because we are energy. And so atoms are sticky and they stick together. And so I had enmeshed my field with his out of fear, trying to keep him safe. I wanted to keep him safe, but that's a fear-based construct that he needs me to be safe, right? That's seeing him in a limited capacity. So in order for us to have a more sovereign relationship with each other, in order for me to allow him to fully embrace his own path and allow myself to fully embrace my path, and I wanted that for him so badly. I wanted to know that I wasn't going to affect him no matter how high I climbed. If he didn't want to climb that high, I mean, he's already way higher than me. But what I'm saying is, allowing him the freedom to move about that ladder however he wants to move, and allowing me the freedom to move about the ladder however I want to move, without allowing these sheets of energy of enmeshment to occur.
Yeah.
And so it's really important that we start to release those.
Oh, absolutely. And I'll be honest, when you're a mother, it's hard, until the kids are like, able to function and think on their own. Even now, I mean, I don't worry as much, but it's hard. And I'm an Indian mother, so you can just imagine all the ancestral junk that comes along with that, right? But it's, once we start to become more aware, we start to let go, right? We start to
Mhm.
say, you know what? And I started that early on with my children. It's like, this is your life. You chose to be here. You get to choose how you're going to live and function, and what do you want, and just be aware of the consequences, etc. But so they're very independent, right?
Mhm.
But when I was first a mother, oh my God, I was like terrified. It's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know anything. My family's all up in my face because it's like it's the first child in the whole family. So extra pressure. And they didn't understand anything about, he's his own being that's here. People don't see that, right?
Mhm.
In the Indian culture, or probably some other cultures too, but they don't see that. They just see he's your child. You have to do everything you can to take care of him, to protect him, blah blah blah, right? All that stuff.
Mhm.
And of course, I cannot do anything better than my mother can. Whatever I do is wrong. My mother can do everything 10 times better, right?
Yep.
So,
Mhm.
but when we start to, when we start to go on our journey of spirituality and truth and knowing who we are, we start to let some of that stuff go. So some of that enmeshment starts to happen on its own as we start to recognize who we are, right?
Mhm.
But at the same time, all the programming that's in the collective, sometimes we don't even realize it's there. So those enmeshments are not just with the people that are close to you, but they're ancestral, and they're from everybody in the collective. And you're so used to saying certain things or thinking certain things or feeling certain things that you're not even aware of it.
Yeah. We get enmeshed with everything basically
Mhm.
until we figure it out and stop it. And it's really hard. And so that's another thing that pulls us back down the ladder are these enmeshments.
Yeah.
And so we have to go in there and we have to physically release the atoms from each other, break those bonds. And the easiest way that I have found to do that is through light codes,
Mhm.
but also um, ultimately, what really starts getting the ball rolling faster is when we take that inner child back to the divine mother and the divine father and go through the rebirthing process, remembering that that is where we were derived from, and that this human mother and human father and everyone else on the planet were just portals of entry for us,
Mhm.
and they're just here having the same experience. But when we have that ultimate remembering and that experience of that reconnection with the truth of who we are and where we came from, then that internal sense of separation that we continually feel, no matter how hard we try and how hard we work to heal that sense of separation, dissipates. And it's when we really release that and come into unification with all that is, and knowing the truth of who we are, then it's like we can release those enmeshments with our family, with our friends, with our environment, because we're not seeking knowledge and guidance and acceptance from
Mhm.
anything outside of us any longer.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
it's not until you do that, that's what I consider sovereignty, is when the enmeshments are gone, when the cords are gone, and you feel at peace in your own body. And you've healed this internal sense, this internal battle that's been going on between the mind and the ego and the body consciousness and the spirit. And you can just sit with yourself and feel at peace.
Mhm. Yeah.
That is true sovereignty to me. And that's when you can, and it isn't until you get to that point that you can walk the planet like Jesus walked the planet and see the divine light in another person and truly see them and truly accept the truth of who they are. Because unless you accept yourself and unless you have this peace within yourself, then you can't truly accept another because you don't know what it feels like.
Mhm.
You can't divinely love. Like I couldn't divinely love my children and until I'd learned how to divinely love myself, because I didn't know what it felt like. I loved them from a human perspective. with different kind of filters on. I mean, I wouldn't say that at the time. I would say, of course I love them divinely. Of course I accept them for all that they are.
Yeah.
But I was filtering it still through the collective consciousness of what love appeared to mean. I didn't know what it truly felt like. And it was just such a releasing when I could. But that is what my son was able to do from the get-go.
Beautiful.
And that's what those like him can do from the get-go.
And that's powerful. That's really, it's like, that's what we're all striving for, right? Is to be more light, be more accepting, but be fully divine, be fully, because we already are, but our divinity is dimmed by our personality, by our thoughts, feelings, and emotions, and beliefs, etc. So I know, we already are, but we're not expressing that. We're not fully embodied in that way. That's my understanding as well. So we're not fully embodied and expressing ourselves as the divine, as we can be, our fullest potential. You know, we're getting there. You know, we are working on it. And so this talking about, you know, healing the mind, body, ego, spirit connection. It's not just a one-time shot. It's a process. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. And that's why I divided it out into four master classes, because it is a process. Your ego's not going to trust you from day one. Your body's not going to be fully on board. We're like, oh, you see me now? Okay, we can bring these down. No, the first step is releasing the enmeshments, so that your ego and your mind and your body can even know who you are outside of all these external frequencies that are coming in, continually bombarding it with information that isn't theirs, that isn't yours. So we bring these different aspects of you into this round table to witness first a releasing of all these enmeshments and cords and external attachments, props, whatever you want to call them. And then we go into the next session where we begin to open up the conversation with the body first. And we place in these infinity signs and teach the body how to properly run external emotions through it, external information through it, instead of it sending that signal directly from the heart to the brain, and then the brain starts firing thoughts. It doesn't have to go like that. We can teach it how to do things differently from a higher vibrational state. And we're not disregarding the information that's coming in. I think that's very important to state. We're not disregarding the information that's coming in and saying that, oh, that's theirs, I'm not going to pay attention to it. We're actually allowing it to come in and breathe it in, and then use those infinity signs then to ground that. But by the time it's grounded to the earth, we've neutralized it, but we've also learned from it. It's a frequency now that the body can be like, oh, well, this frequency feels like this. So I can have more compassion for that person standing across from me because I felt that before. But I understand they don't have to live in that. So I'm going to see past that. And so then, so that's a pretty big one. And then we move to another, what's next?
Oh.
Sorry, I lost you.
Yeah, it's okay.
Okay. And so now we have the body on board and starting to trust us a little bit, you know, and then we have, in this whole time, the ego and the mind have been watching this happen in the background, because you can just imagine them being like tiny little people sitting at the table watching what's going on. So we're slowly building trust with them. And so then in the third session, then we can begin to teach the ego how to truly filter through that unique soul signature that is you. That is your truth, no one else's. It's just you. And what happens when that happens, you feel this like huge, your whole energy field opens up, because your ego's like, oh, I don't have to stay so constricted in fear. I get to open up. And actually, it's not my job to judge information that's coming in. It's only my job to filter out frequencies that are bringing in disturbances to the spirit, to the body, and to the mind, and just see it as a frequency. And the ego is like, oh, it's not even my job to judge it. I just have to see if that is in harmonic resonance with me or if it isn't. And that's when you come into wholeness and from a place of compassion.
Mm.
And so then the last session is bringing all these aspects of yourself into the classroom and letting them ask questions and bringing in light codes so they can, in each one of these sessions, I'll bring in light codes from your guides, from the angels. Archangel Metatron usually orchestrates the whole thing. And then there's these other beautiful spectrum beings of light that come in and they bring these down. And the whole time your ego and your mind and your body are watching how beautiful and how harmonic that these frequencies, how much harmony they bring your cellular matrix, how much harmony they bring the neural pathways in your brain, and how much harmony the ego can actually feel happening in your overall human. And so then it begins to feel safe to climb that ladder and to bring in those higher spectrums of light so that you can fully embody them. And when you reach that point, then it's a whole lot easier to climb on a step of that ladder and be able to hold that vibration because you have trust. You've created internal harmony and unity.
Beautiful. And that's what we want, that trust and that harmony, so that we can continue to climb that ladder. But climbing the ladder is meaning basically holding more light, right? And working with more light, becoming more expanded, becoming more of who we truly are, you know? So that's the rung by rung that we go up, and maybe then we'll fall down less. I'm hoping.
A little less. You always have those moments, but it's so much easier to identify the fall and to come back out of it. Yeah. I fell the other day, but I was easily able to pull everybody back into that table. And I mean, like, my kids were messing around in the living room. I had dinner cooking at the time. Like, this wasn't me sitting quietly in meditation, you know, this was like life happening. I was able to call these aspects in and be like, whoa, is it ultimately true that this frequency is mine, or that this is a truth for me? And I could feel the neural pathway in my brain. I could feel that subconscious belief. And I showed them that was an external frequency that came in. Like, it's not ultimately true. Look at it compared to this unique soul signature that is mine. And it shifted in that moment because it's like, oh, that's right. That's not a match.
Exactly. So
that's external.
Yeah. Good. Awesome. Easy peasy, right? It can be easy. It doesn't have to be complicated.
It can be easier. Yes. Yeah.
Awesome. So I know that there's lots of questions in the chat, and I forgot to mention at the beginning that maybe I did, I don't know. But if you have a question for Erica about what we're talking about, you can raise your hand or you can type your question in the chat. What kind of questions do you want to take, Erica?
I don't care. I can do live readings, whatever they're needing. And so, I don't know if you want to do the process before or after.
Well, I was thinking that based on the kind of questions we get, that will kind of, frame the process. You know,
that works. Yeah.
So that's what I was thinking anyway. So it doesn't have to, the questions don't have to necessarily be about autism or the spectrum or children per se, but basically it is about, how are you doing on the rungs of the ladder? Are you falling? Or I was falling today, so I'm glad I'm not the only one. I was definitely having a moment. All right, so I'm just going back up because there were lots of people writing in the chat earlier. Gonna lose it. 1 second. So if you wrote a question down before, type it in again, okay? Because otherwise it's gonna take me a while to go back and search and find. So I know.
And if it's if it's like specific, like, oh, I'm having trouble in this area, then I just need the name and the question. So.
But be specific. I don't like
Mhm.
general readings. I don't do that.
No, it needs to be
We
specific.
don't do that here. You all know that. For those of you who are new, you may not know that, but we do not do, can you read my aura? No, you have to have something specific. All right, so Mystic, go ahead and unmute yourself and you can ask your question.
Oh, hi, it's Caroline. I just entered my question.
Oh, hi, Caroline. You
Hi,
did?
beautiful.
Ah,
It's thank you so much. Erica, it's about menopause. And so weight gain, right? Heart palpitation, not
Mhm.
sleeping, you know how it goes. So I'm 6 years in. What do I tell my body? Because my body's a little bit upset at me, or maybe I'm upset at menopause.
It's a trust issue with women. So, first off, I mean, this goes generations back. So, first off, we need to upgrade your root chakra. I do have a free root chakra upgrade on my website. If you go under events, it's listed there, and that can kind of guide you through it. And then there's a lot of forgiveness that needs to occur. This would be like an ancestral clearing and healing for you that you're holding on to. And so it would be like, that would probably be something in a private session we could get to, pulling those ancestors forward. And ancestors can be past lives, actual, like, grandparents and things of that nature. But it's needing to be healed clear through the line of not feeling safe or not even wanting to be a woman. And what a woman actually means or meant in your history, in your line of safety or not safety because of being a woman. So we would need to pull all those ancestors forward and do a healing on that. And I would love to do that now, but there's a lot of them. There's quite a few of them coming forward. So it would, that's something that we would need to do in a session.
No,
But for now, what I would
absolutely.
do is,
Yes, I know. I agree that that's something in a session. There's quite a lot of everything you just said. So yes, I agree.
oh,
okay,
okay, why can't
Thank
I
you.
hear properly?
Thank you.
you're welcome.
So did that help, Caroline?
It did. Obviously, it's a session, a personal session that I need here for that. But yeah.
But maybe there is still something that, can help you today, because I'm sure there are other people on the call who have menopause issues as well.
But generally, for menopause, is there something we can do today then? Yeah.
It would be that upgrading the root chakra. And so I would invite you to go to my website. You can just go to ericavaneaton.com and play that under events. It's free. It's just turn it on and it'll take you through that root chakra, because what we're doing when we're upgrading the chakra systems is that our root chakra has operated from the vibrational frequency of fear as well. Fear of survival, like, how do I survive here? And so that's what's been playing out across the genetic lines. And so we can pull that vibrational frequency out of fear and replace it with beginning to trust that you are a divine being of light. And because you know that you are a divine being of light, that of course you are supported here. And it's coming into trust. And so it's changing out that operating platform from one of fear into one of trust.
Yeah, that totally and completely speaking to me in survival and not being able to survive, not liking being a woman, everything that happened and all that. So absolutely.
Yeah.
You're
Okay,
welcome.
I'll get to it. Thank you so much. Bless your heart. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Caroline.
Thanks, my beauty.
Okay, so Pat, go ahead and ask your question, and then I'll take the questions from the chat.
Okay, Erica, thank you for sharing your story. My son actually was a teacher for me in my spiritual journey, teaching me how to have compassion and honor everyone's choice as personal and perfect for them. It was wonderful. But
what's his name?
His name is Michael.
Okay, he's right here, so I was just asking.
Oh.
Close your eyes. I'm just going to ask for Michael to come forward, like come closer to you, his spirit. And can you feel his presence? You might feel pressure. And where do you feel that at?
I just feel his presence in front of me.
And this would be the place that you could talk to him anytime, but go ahead.
I'm not sure what to say.
Oh, you don't have to. I mean, I'm just saying, like, anytime you're in meditation, this is how you can connect with him and
I
talk to
see.
him.
I see.
Yeah. Yeah. So did you
Did you
have a
say you were
question?
giving light readings or something too?
Light language journey. Well, that's part of the session package.
I see.
If I get into, the part of the process is going to be a light language process, is what I'm hearing. Like, I kind of already knew that, but if
Okay.
I did that right now, it would go a little too long. I think Laura would be a little upset.
Sure, that's okay.
Yeah.
But did you have
misunderstood.
a specific question though, Pat, about
Mhm.
anything? Or
Well,
are
you
you
know,
good?
I'm feeling off balanced when I'm walking, and
Okay.
then it seems to settle and more stabilized at the end of the day. But I guess I'm feeling the frequencies and energies coming in.
So you're feeling the frequencies and energies coming in, but they're not coming in a balanced way because your chakra systems are, again, not allowing you to fully embody.
Okay.
So I think you're coming in and you're and like when you really try to get settled, you're kind of crooked.
Yeah.
So it'd be a matter of pulling you up out of your body, upgrading the chakra system, and then pulling you back down in.
Okay.
But that's something that you can kind of just
I
be
can
very
do
careful with
personally.
that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can do that personally. Okay,
And
thank you.
then you can ask too for like Archangel Metatron or Archangel Michael or whoever to come and run energy around your meridians and get those flowing, because
Okay.
they're kind of shut down there. Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Thank you so much.
Good, thank you, Pat. All right, we are going to go to the question. There's lots of questions. 1 second. So I did ask people just to type the question in again, because it's like, I don't know. There's just so many. All right, so Randy was asking, will I need to move? It's a psychic question.
No.
No, Randy, you don't have to move.
I mean, that was the first word that popped up. I don't know what the question was around it, but I just heard no. I was feeling into it. Like, Randy, you asked the question right now. Get quiet. Get heart-centered. And by getting heart-centered, just act like you're taking an elevator from your mind down to your heart space. And you walk out of the elevator and there's a set of doors there, and you open those doors and you step out onto a golden path. And then just ask the question, do I need to move to have this kind of experience that I'm seeking? Or can I have it right here? And follow the energy of both. If it feels more expansive to stay, like you can do everything that you need to do, then you have your answer. If it feels more expansive to move, then you have your answer. You know, there's never usually just one answer for anything. It's because everything's just an experience here. We think that everything, our minds, right, want to make everything an absolute. But if we just begin to look at it, is this experience, does this have the possibility to bring me more joy or become more expansive? Or does this other possibility, does it look like it holds more avenues into levels of consciousness that I haven't experienced yet? Oh my gosh, there we go. So
Good, Randy. Let us know what answer you got too. Okay. All right, so 1 second. Jules says, she said, I work during the day. I jumped on late. Is this about the group healings? How does this work for people who work during the day? Also, currently today I'm having, piercing nerve pain in my face. That might not be related to a tooth, but what?
the group calls are going to be recorded. I call in, I'm releasing energy for her. What was the name again?
Jules, she's unmuted now.
Okay.
Hi.
Hey, I hear you. So the group work is recorded. I call in the collective consciousness of everyone that's there live or going to be on the replay, and I work within that consciousness. And there's a lot of etheric beings that help out by pulling. So you receive the healing whether you're there or not, and then every time you listen to it, you get, you receive a deeper level of healing. And that's because energy is infinitely intelligent. And so it's going to reach your DNA at different levels every time. The pain in your face.
I have been working with the infinity symbols that we put in me, and it has been helpful.
Yeah, it does, right? Because oh, Jules, I know you.
Yeah.
It's like your energy feels so familiar.
And yet it's very different.
It does.
I'm still crying a lot. I think I've made a few giant quantum type leapy things.
Right. So you've noticed a huge difference with those infinity signs in place. And what she's talking about, everyone, are the infinity signs that I was talking about with the body consciousness.
It's easier for me to send it down and to remember to send it down. It's like all of a sudden it's like, oh, I can send this down. I don't know if I'm getting all the rest of it, but I do know that I've been and I drew a stick figure of myself with infinity symbols, so it was easier for me to work it down to see it going down. So I did have an experience where, kind of like what you were explaining, but I think it was a baby experience in the car with road rage, where I would have like really lost my temper. I just kind of went to compassion, and I was like, yes, thank you.
Right. It changes your whole perspective. I love that. Thank you for sharing.
Yeah, that's what I want. I want compassion first. So anyway, this piercing in my face is excruciating.
Okay, it's an enmeshment that's wanting to come off, and that's what I've been kind of working on. I feel it like really like hooked in. So I'll lift off as much as I can right now.
Thank you.
Is it lessening towards the top?
Actually, I do kind of feel like something's coming out the top of my head.
Mm-hmm.
It's on my right side.
Yeah. It's like wires. It's old programming that you're getting ready, that you're just ready to let go of. So it's like kind of like chicken wire. We just have to be careful with that so it doesn't hurt the matrix. So I'm just going to let Archangel Metatron work on that, and other beings of light too, as they begin to release that from you, they'll make sure that your matrix is fully repaired when that happens.
So I went to the dentist yesterday because like I can't even stand when it's piercing, and she couldn't find anything in the x-rays that pointed to the reason for this amount of pain. So I have an appointment for an endodontist tomorrow, and they always talk root canals, but if there's no infection and they can't see anything, I don't want them just root canaling my teeth.
I don't know. I don't get the sense that they're going to find it. Okay. This is an energetic thing. So.
And that was the sense that I got, because I went to the chiropractor and they did the day before this happened, and they did all this work, and there's this area in my neck that I just feel is connected to when I did the ego activation. My neck froze, and like literally froze for a few days. And when I did another activation, something else happened. So I think like, I don't know what's happening. Like, can crystallizations come off, or I need an appointment with you.
Yeah.
I was just gonna say, this sounds more like a personal session.
Yeah. There's a lot of different things going on. I mean, we just got to get these body parts talking and some of these entanglement things off. And then,
Yeah. When I went to make an appointment on your site, I couldn't find the schedule like I had done before. So can I
okay.
just email you?
Yeah. Just email me and we'll do it that way.
Thank you. I do feel some relief in
Yeah.
a lot of ways.
Good.
Good. They're working on you. So.
Thank you, Jules.
Thank you.
Interesting. All the stuff she's talking about is like, yeah, you're gonna experience all that in the webinars with with Erica coming up.
Yeah.
So
And we've only done one session.
What do you
with
call
her,
that?
so.
A testimonial.
yeah.
Yes, a live one. Thank you.
Awesome. Thank you, Jules. Just going back up. Where was I? Oh my gosh. Oh my goodness. Mary, Joy. I think we're at Joy. Okay, yeah, Joy. Joy, how can we create supportive system inside of us stronger than the automatic fear response? I can still lose myself easily under stress. Yeah, I did today. There is a part in me in fear. What can we do for these parts of us?
Okay. Can you give me, sorry, I was clearing some other stuff off that came up. What, Joy, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I just heard the untamed ego. So it's just that, it's time to, like we're talking about this whole session, to bring the ego into conversation and teach it a different way. Give it these different processes. Like, Jules we just did one session together, and continually, like she's super sensitive. So she was continually bringing information in, shooting it straight up to her brain and firing thoughts like super fast because she didn't have a way to direct it to come down. So with you, it's that, without going into too much stuff, your ego's, it's pretty traumatized. It feels like it's been, I'm hearing locked in a box, so to speak, of wanting to keep you safe, but not being fully allowed to keep you safe. And again, that's just because it doesn't understand what that really means. And you've been doing your work. You've been trying to do a lot of mindfulness stuff and becoming aware. That's why you know that the fear isn't necessarily yours or real, but the ego does. The ego thinks it is real. So what's needing to happen is to open up the conversation and to begin to heal that aspect of yourself so that it can see a different way. And it takes a little bit of time and trust to do that.
All right, thank you, Joy. There was a question from Marie. Marie, welcome back. First time here in many years. I was divinely guided here today. This makes so much sense. I'm assuming the conversation. And she said, I can literally feel the enmeshment in my left side weighing me down. I hear you.
Okay, what was her name again?
Marie.
Oh, yeah. And that was just done out of, that's past life enmeshment, actually. This isn't something in this lifetime, it's followed you into this lifetime. So we'll release as much as we can right now. Entanglement, not just enmeshment, but like soul entanglement. Just lifting some of it off. Sorry, just give me just a minute. caught in your neck, digging into your. It's not really super excited to leave. So it's like they're trying to, like, they're working on pulling it off, but there's a part of you that isn't quite so sure if you want it to leave. So it's almost like they're, you have to make a decision. Do you really want to let this go? Are you really ready to allow that to the freedom to happen? Or is there something else that you feel that needs to be healed there in order to fully let this go? Because what's happening, it's like what they're showing me and what I'm feeling is like they're bringing this enmeshment and like starting to lift it up, but you're not really, you're like gripping, so it's pulling your matrix at the same time instead of just like this beautiful releasing. So that's a decision. Need to go into it and make the decision on if that's something that you want to do or not. And if you do, then you can come back to it and ask the angels to help you to fully release that.
All right, so I just want to say I love you all and I love all your questions, but I know that we want to definitely do a process. So I don't want to miss out on doing the process. So I'm just going to see, I know there's still lots of questions, but if we take all the questions, we won't be able to do the process. So we'll see because I don't know how long the process is going to be, to be honest, right?
Nope.
And yeah, exactly, right. And I want to take a moment and just talk about the special offer, because we vaguely talked about a little bit of it, but not the whole thing. So for those of you who are on the live page, you can just click on special offer. Those of you who are not, you can go to alara.at/show/Erica2. Because in this special offer, there's 4 live group sessions, which we talked about, and there's 3 audio recordings, a peace and unity meditation, a soul body fusion activation, a call in the frequency of money activation, and a 30-minute private session with Erica. And so, it's really important to recognize that, sometimes we need a little bit of help before we can actually start to do the group calls, right? And that's why the audio recordings are going to help to get you started on being more present, having more peace, doing the body fusion, getting connected to your body. Erica, is there anything else you want to add about that?
No, and the private sessions you never know what's going to happen. I do a lot of different things, and I had to learn how to do a lot of different things because I had 3 kids that I had to help, right? So I can't say that XYZ is going to happen. I kind of leave it up to your soul, and your soul's in charge of what's the highest and best thing for you. So that's with the private session. The Divine Love free gift on Alora's show will definitely help that MP3. Usually that brings people to tears because that was channeled straight from Jesus, and opening up to receiving divine love. It's full of light codes to come in. And no, they're getting me ready for the process. I'm finding it kind of hard to speak.
Okay, so again, take a look at the special offers available at lara.at/show/Erica2, because they want to come in and do the process now. So let's do that. Let's honor that.
Okay, and so what we're really going to be doing here today is releasing a lot of densities. I do channeling. I channel along with the light language. Oh. So they're wanting you to know, as someone just asked, I heard someone's consciousness ask, so how my matrix was designed, it was designed to do group work. I can do single work, obviously, but my matrix is designed to do group work. My matrix was designed to work with those on the autism spectrum, to be able to carry that full spectrum of light and bring that highly condensed energy in to my matrix, and then it's like I unzip it for the collective, so at a frequencies and at a level that which you can use. So I hope that answered that person's question. And just go ahead and take a big breath in, and then let it out. Let's set the intention for unity, to experience some sense of unity. And we're going to ask for your mind to be present. Imagine there's a table within your heart space. You're going to ask for your mind to be present. We're going to ask for your ego to be present. Ask for your body consciousness to be present at this table. And we're asking for your spirit to be present, and we're asking for your soul to guide this for you. And we're just going to take a moment to honor each aspect of the human. And you may see the spirit bowing with hands gathered in prayer in front to each one of these aspects, truly honoring them, accepting them where they are in this now moment. And so we're just going to let them know that we're going to begin to bring in light codes, and there's nothing for them to do. That however they're able to receive it, they can receive it, but they can just sit back and watch. And we have a whole collective beings of light here with us today. There's the White Brotherhood of Light that's present. There are the archangels that are present. Many other ascended masters, along with Syrian Council of Light, Pleiadian Council of Light, Arcturian and Andromeda. And they all come forward because those on the spectrum all are derived from the stars, just like many of you. And so just breathe and allow. Yaharakanina shaha sihirakotora shana sini vedir haradina sahirikatara saharaka shanagara benina sagari hirikadiri tikarapotohore katana. And there's nothing to understand as this language is spoken. It's just codes, it's just frequencies, it's just energy. Perhaps you would bring your awareness to your heart space and watch as these codes come in. Watch as these frequencies come in, or maybe if you cannot see it, maybe you can feel it as they penetrate your body. And just allow them to filter down like a blanket. And we're just showing you what it's like to feel coherent. Sihirakatana, Shakarakatini, Sikerapotorna, Shana, Sihidekatakarapodana, Shihidekete Sihirakatana. Yaharakata Shaha Sihirakatana, Satakorapatana, Shihirakatana, Sihirakatana, Shakatana, Sihirakatana. And it's like a familiar feeling. These frequencies feel very familiar. They're coming from your star homes. These frequencies are what you're used to feeling when you're not in the physical form. And so we're just introducing these beautiful frequencies that your spirit is so very used to feeling. We're introducing them to the human aspects of you. So instead of being fearful of this energy coming in, it can feel the peace and the unity. Within. And just continue to breathe and allow. And they're unraveling these energetic codes are beginning to unravel, the densities, the programs that are like a bush of thorns wrapped around that unique soul signature that is the truth of you. And some of you are having a hard time accepting. And that's okay. We honor that. And so we just ask for you just to witness what the frequency does in the body. How do you see it stream through the cellular matrix? What does it feel like in the muscle tissues? Yagana Shayasa Gorbanona, Shayasa Haraganana, Shayasa Garabatoshini, Hasahanagana. Just breathe and allow. And you may feel your crown chakra start to open, starting to trust. Your body's starting to allow for these to come in. And so as you allow, they're beginning to lift you out of the level of consciousness that you've been residing in, and they're bringing you up, showing your body that it's safe to move up to a different level of consciousness, a different dimensional space and plane, a different reality. And there's nothing you have to do except continue to allow. I see a bunch of chains being broken. It's like these chains have held you down. But this trust and this allowing for those to fall away. And it feels like this is the level that you most can hold at this time. And so we're just going to allow it to begin to settle. And so with the breath, I invite you to come back down fully. Your spirits were fully ready and wanting to hop right up out of that body and come up and meet with us. But this is something that we're wanting you to embody. So we're going to stay in this level of consciousness, but we're going to come back down to the crown, down to your face and your neck, down your shoulders, down into your heart space. And we're going to keep going down the body, down to the root chakra, and allowing this level of consciousness to begin to filter out down your legs and into your feet, and filling in your hips, and filling in your abdomen and your heart space. Flowing down your arms and your hands and up your neck and your head. It's funny because like Erica's personality was wanting to go higher and higher and higher. And they're like, no, we're not quite ready for that. So this is a level of consciousness that you all here on the collective call can hold with relative ease and grace. So we ask you to come back to this heart space on a daily basis for the next 10 days and practice this level of consciousness so that you can embody and live from this level of reality. And so when you're ready, you can begin to come back and open your eyes, wiggle your fingers.
Wonderful, thank you. For those of you who had questions about physical stuff, perhaps some of that has been released. I know some of intensity in my body has been released. It's calmed down quite a bit. So just be aware of that too, which I wasn't even thinking about, but you know, it has, you know, so it's much better, much calmer. So thank you. I'm still,
that's oftentimes, that's oftentimes why they have questions after the group process, because it eliminates a lot of stuff.
Yeah. So Joy said magical. Thank you so much. Honcam, I'm not sure who that is. A lot of sobbing touched my heart. Diane says very effective. Many thanks. Good. Yeah, it was.
Diana's consciousness was actually the one that asked the question in the very beginning.
Good.
Of how this works. So anyway.
Good. Andres says great energy. Rick says thank you. Good. Awesome. Good. Awesome. Thank you. Marie says awesome. Thank you both. Very tangible. Awesome. Yeah, because you know, some of us we perceive things in different ways, right? So some of us will feel, some of us will hear, some of us will see. Mystic says I was floating in colors. Linda says thank you so much. It was so calming and soothing. Good. Awesome. Yay. Love it. All right. So we have just a few minutes left. Erica, is there anything else that you wanted to share with us?
No, I kind of want everybody to stay in this space and play in this reality. It's just my I saw that Dalai Lama, unicorns. Yes, they were all there. Right. As well as the etheric dolls and wells and stuff. No, it's just my greatest desire that, you know, we all find a sense of unity and that sense of peace, and that we can begin to look at others who, for all in physical reasons, look completely different than us, and begin to see yourself within them.
Beautiful. Thank you.
Yeah.
Wow. And if you want to work more with Erica, please do check out the package available at alara.at/show/Erica2. You can have many more of these magical moments, because in the live group calls, you're going to be doing processes as well, right?
Yeah.
And taking questions.
Yeah, a mixture of both. It'll be like this, except a lot deeper and a lot longer. And they're wanting me to teach it like a class. So you'll be given a lot of processes to use on your own, and you get to select from those processes. But it's the collective consciousness, what they're wanting me to bring forward, you will receive, because you're totally involved with that. It's not something that I'm leading. I'm just being a clear conduit for the energy to come through to you, for you. That's for your highest and greatest good. But it's not something that I want to do for you. I'm just holding space, like I answered that that question that was asked, because I can hold the whole spectrum of light. It's easy for me to take a collective consciousness like what that was here for you, with you all today, up to these higher planes up to these higher dimensional planes and spaces, which obviously wouldn't be possible if it weren't for the spectrum beings of light. But that's what they do for us. And that's kind of what they wanted to show you today. So the collective consciousness of these beautiful beings of light that we have labeled as spectrum, they were very present with us today. And they're wanting you to know that what just occurred was what they're able to do for you as well, and what they have been doing for a long time. And so the more I can help you hold these higher states of consciousness, the higher rays of light that you can fully embody. But again, it comes down to fully accepting and honoring and loving. And I love how in that process, I actually never seen them do that before. They, I don't know if any of you saw it or were witness to it, but they had your spirit bow and with hands in prayer to each aspect of your humanness, because that's what you wanted to accompany and witness here and experience. So
Yeah.
it'll be more like that, a lot deeper, a little longer.
Awesome. And then of course there's the 30-minute personal session with Erica and the 3 recordings that you can download right away and start listening to. 2 are activations and one's a meditation. So to start looking at those, working with those as well. On the free gifts page, there is a divine love transmission, I think it was.
A divine love transmission. They also just came in and said that on one or some of the group calls that we're going to start bringing in your star child. And this is something that's newer to the planet, the availability. And the star child is the only thing I see with those with autism, but it's this super consciousness of your inner child that has access to these different realms of wisdom that can bring it down, that can help you open your gifts more fully, show you gifts that you've never seen before. But in order to access that star child and to allow them to really come into your field, you have to first be able to hold the frequencies, the higher rays of light, the whole spectrum of light within you, because that's the world that they play in.
Awesome, thank you. So Mystic, I sent you the link, but okay, it's Erica, hold on, what is it? It's ericavaneaton.com/events, and you go all the way down to the your Divine Uniqueness Telesummit. And then there's the November 2020 free root chakra upgrade, and click on that and you should be able to, nope, sorry, unable to open this file at this time.
Oh, sorry. That was,
sorry.
I did it on a different telesummit. So he said it worked, so I'll have to redo it. Sorry.
So yeah, sorry, it's not there. I saw it there, but then I didn't click on it before, I just clicked on it now. So
okay, it used to work. I'll have to reinitiate that, sorry.
Yeah, or if you could send that to me, I will add it to the free gifts page, and then that way anybody can use it there. Okay, all right, Mystic, Caroline, because I know how badly you want it. Yeah, okay, cool, awesome, thank you. Thank you for asking again, so that we were able to check it out and realize it's not working.
Yep. Sorry about it.
Menopause, want it badly. And that's so funny. I mean, I don't think anyways, pardon, cancel, delete. I don't think I experienced any menopause related symptoms, but I could be totally wrong. I could be like being full-blown menopause, psycho energy stuff. And it's like, not even know it. It's okay. I got enough going on. All right. So thank you, Erica. That was awesome. She said, no, you would know. Thank you, Erica. That was awesome. That was brilliant. We've never had a call like this before. I think I told you that on Monday when we talked. We've never talked about this stuff, I don't think, on the show before. So I'm glad that we did. And it's really important for people to know about this and to recognize that it, the spectrum is not exactly what we think it is. And the children who are on the spectrum, there's a different way of looking at them. There's a different way of perceiving them, engaging with them than what we're taught, and what, is there in the collective, for sure. So yeah. Thank you.
Beautiful. Well, thank you for giving me the platform to share. So it is newer, so it doesn't surprise me that.
Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah.
And so we'll definitely have to have you back again. I don't know if you already booked a second show or not, but I don't know. But we'll definitely have to have you back because this was so much fun. I loved it. And
Yeah, me too.
for those of you who are wanting to get a session with Erica, please do check that out. Okay. Okay. So I'm early today. I'm like, all right, I'm already done. What am I going to do for the rest of the night? So.
We just get to sit and play in those frequencies.
Yes,
so
exactly. So
now
keep,
you all
keep
get to play
connecting.
with that. Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
keep
go pick
connecting
up
to those
kids from
frequencies.
school.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
All right, thank you so much, everyone. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I'm sorry we didn't get to all
Right.
your questions, but ask again next time. But yeah, until next time, may you continue to be blessed with an abundance of joy, peace, love, happiness, prosperity, and radiant health. Sending you all much love and blessings always. Bye for now.
Bye. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye, Liz.